of you know, this is the 30th annual Festival of India. It started in 1987, and in a very humble way, and it's gone up until the present day. And we're very fortunate to have a special guest and visitor with us on this momentous occasion. His name is Radhanath Swami, sitting right over there. He went to India in the early 1970s. He practiced yoga. He met many of the great spiritual personalities of the day. And he always focused on excavating his spiritual inner self. In our materialistic, externally oriented world, we're all trying for happiness through external sources. And yet, the Vedic information is that happiness, which is so elusive for us or to us in the external world, is actually as close as our own hearts. We are created as living entities, as happy living beings, eternal living beings, knowledgeable living beings. But in the external pursuit of happiness, we get misled. In his latest best-selling book on the New York Times bestseller list, Journey Inside, he tells the story of the musk deer that at a certain time of the year, it smells this maddeningly fragrant aroma and determines it's going to find the source of that aroma and runs far and wide, up and down, exhausts itself looking for that aroma in vain, little realizing that the aroma itself exudes from its own navel. So how many of us is this true for? That we're through our careers or through our family or through our athleticism, that we're trying to find happiness externally when in fact it's right within us. And so it's my great pleasure to introduce to the stage, Radhanath Swami is going to give a short little orientation on the specialness of this particular day and the observance of the killing of Ravana, who you see up there as a huge effigy towering over us. This is something that's done throughout India and in the Indian diaspora, that we ritualistically kill all those anomalies, all those dirty things within our hearts. He can speak about it much more eloquently and much more purely than I can. So let's welcome all the way from Bombay, India, to the stage here, His Holiness Radhanath Swami. After his talk, he will be while we have more dance performances, in fact, Malini will be back, and we have a touring Kathak dance troupe from Bangalore. They'll be performing, but you'll also have the option after this short talk to follow Radhanath Swami into the temple room where he'll do a question and answer session for about an hour. So let's welcome him once again. This is his first time in Utah, so we want him to come back again and again. So let's give him a good Utah welcome. Thank you.
Midandasya Gyananjanachalakaya chakshurun militam jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Shadharine Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasati Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. It is my sincere honor and joy to be with all of you this evening. It is my first time in life to the state of Utah. My special gratitude to my dear friend, brother and sister, Charu Prabhu and Vaibhavi Devi. They came here many years ago with really no other resource except the joy of compassion in their hearts, the joy of their love for God. And they wanted to share it in a very special way. And from that compassionate spirit, this beautiful temple has arisen, and so many beautiful festivals attracting tens and thousands of people. I came here just to thank them for all they're doing for the people of Utah and the people of America and the people of the world. They're a truly beautiful example of devotion. This evening is a very esoteric festival. We will see an effigy of Ravana being burned. And I'd like to speak what it represents in our own lives and the universal principles that we could learn from it. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna tells, Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata. Abhyutanam dharmasya tadatmanam srijamyaham. That there's one supreme source of everything and everyone, who goes by many names in different traditions, who is commonly called upon as God, Yahweh, Rama, Krishna. And that one supreme being descends into this world, either personally or through a messenger, throughout the ages, to restore universal teachings and attract our hearts back to our own real nature. Long ago, the Lord appeared as Ram, and his most beloved, his feminine counterpart was Sita. According to the great epic Ramayana, which is studied and discussed by hundreds of millions of people in India today and throughout the ages, we read about a tyrant, a very selfish, arrogant, power-hungry person. He kidnapped Sita from Ram. And the major portion of the story of this great scripture is what happened after that. Some of the universal lessons we could learn. Sita represents love for God and compassion for all beings. In the Bible, Jesus tells us that the first and great commandment is to love God with all our heart, our mind, our soul. And when that love is awakened from within us, it expresses by loving our neighbor as ourself. And everyone is our neighbor. Compassion is the highest dharma. Compassion for all beings because it is an expression of the love that is within us. It's our nature. That love is inherent within the soul and the heart of all beings. Ravana represents avidya. It's a Sanskrit word which means darkness, ignorance. In that ignorance, you'll see that this form of Ravana has many heads. Ignorance manifests as greed, envy, arrogance, anger, selfish lust, and illusion. These qualities, these characteristics, they cover, they separate our awareness from the love of God that's within our heart. The environment of the world is going through a lot of crisis due to the exploitation of human beings, greed and arrogance, thinking that we have the right to take God's property and use it according to our own selfish purposes. Air, water, the earth, so much pollution in the ecology. It's due to the pollution within the ecology of the human heart. Unless we clean our hearts, we cannot sustainably create peace among humanity, among other living beings, or in the environment itself. It is this greed, this ignorance, this exploitative tendency that is embodied in Ravana. The real joy, the real peace that we're all seeking is in our soul's own inherent nature. To experience the limitless love of God in our life and to be an instrument of that love in whatever we do, whoever we are, wherever we may be. Most of us have practical experience. Selfish lust, envy, anger, arrogance, greed are very powerful. Sometimes, but it's like we're taken hostage by this darkness, within and without. But when we take shelter of the supreme power of God's grace, the light of that grace can liberate us from these vices, from this darkness forever. Can clean the ecology of our hearts and allow our true spiritual nature, love, devotion, and compassion to the Supreme Person and all of his children. This festival, we will be chanting God's names. In our tradition and traditions throughout the world and the ages, we can invoke that grace in our lives. We can access the presence of God within our hearts to cleanse us, to restore us, to empower us through this chanting of holy names. When we take shelter of the Lord with humility, with sincerity, with a will to serve, then that grace, like a flaming arrow, gives light within our hearts and dispels all darkness and removes all the envy and greed and arrogance and selfish lust and illusion. And then we're free. Our love is awakened. Our hearts are reunited with our Supreme Beloved, with the Lord. And in that, we taste the ultimate happiness, and we're empowered to share that happiness with all. This symbolic as well as historical festival has been celebrated in India and around the world for thousands and thousands of years. And I'm so grateful to see how Charu and Vaibhavi have brought this festival to this incredible place of Spanish Fork, Utah. And I'm so honored and grateful to have this chance to share these thoughts with all of you. So please, it's a blissful gathering, but it also has a very deep and serious lesson. While celebrating it, we're actually seeking shelter of the higher power of grace and freeing the love within our own hearts. Thank you very much.